Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Subtractem's annual, super long, really long, but very thorough and good guide for Heist. Much like my Betrayal, Expedition, and Crafting guides, I kind of like to wait until we get more mature in the mechanic. GGG develops a little bit more, and we're just in a place where a guide can be pretty confident about what we're talking about, and it's not just speculation or like early approaches. At time of recording, Heist has been in the game for a little over 2 years, and we've had all sorts of developments in the game, such as Atlas passives, even new ones as of this current league, 3.20. GGG always keeps evolving and adding more things, but with about 8 to 9 leagues after Heist was added to the game under the belt, it is a pretty well-trod mechanic, well-trod league. We understand it very well. And we also have some very optimized min-max degenerate strategies like Infinite Heist, which we'll talk about at the end of the video. As you can see from the length of the video, this is going to be very thorough. There's timestamps below for getting to the part that you're interested in. We're going to start off with a brief overview of Heist, what it is, thoughts about it, what's good about it, what's bad about it. And then I'm going to go through a brief demo and tutorial, just a quick 10-minute overview if you want to like the quick download of it. And then the rest of the video will be a very deep dive, taking our time, talking about every little thing about it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, what is Heist? It is a mostly non-mapping content that takes place in the Rogue Harbor. You access the Rogue Harbor by using a Rogue Marker, which is specialized currency, to access the harbor. And throughout the video, we're going to be doing visual in-game demonstrations so you can see what's actually going on instead of just me putting pictures and presentations and all that, so you can follow along. I find that's really important for my learning in tutorials, is to actually like see it in the game instead of like someone talking at me. So anyway, in your hideout, you have a heist locker, which stores the rogue markers. You can right click on this anywhere in a town or hideout, so you can go to Lionized Watch or your hideout or anything. This will create a portal that brings you to the Rogue Harbor, which is right here, which is the location where all the action happens. You go on missions assisted by specialized rogue helpers to steal artifacts and get loot along the way. These helpers are Karst, Niles, Huck, Tibbs, Nanette, Vendiri, Talina, Gianna, and Isla. And if you open up your minimap, you can see where they are throughout the map in the Rogue Harbor. If you're doing specialized missions with them, you can talk to them, start the mission, and be on your way. Missions are called contracts, with the upgraded missions, basically like the end game encounters, called blueprints. When you do these missions, they will give you artifacts that then you can sell to Faustus right here that will give you more rogue marker. Contracts, blueprints, and rogue markers are found in smugglers' caches starting in Act 6 and in your maps. Smugglers' caches look just like this. You can see it by the red circular icon on your minimap right there. And this is the entire interaction that you have with Heist on your maps. Very similar to Delve, like where you get Sulfite, which then fuels the non-map content. When you click on your smuggler's cache, you'll get rogue markers, contracts, blueprints, and if you've completed enough of the quest contracts, you'll also unlock unique contracts, which have boss encounters that can drop unique items. This is what they look like. Contract, unique contract, blueprint, and a quest item that is green. You cannot drop this or destroy it when you're in town or your hideout, but if your inventory is full of this stuff, you accidentally picked it up, you can drop it in a map or regular act zone. So you're not stuck with them, you don't have to run them. Some people don't know that. Rogue markers, as we said before, are the key to get into the Rogue Harbor, but they're also the fuel, much like Sulfite in Delve, to open up contracts to run them. Think of it like you're paying the rogues to go along with you. They're basically mercenaries. You're paying them to go along with you on the mission. However, when you run a contract, if you successfully do it, you get that artifact that you sell to Faustus at the end. That will always be a net positive in your rogue markers at the end. A little bit later, when we talk about blueprints, we'll talk about how rogue markers will unlock more wings in the blueprint, more rooms, allowing you to get more loot from that encounter. And then Lady Kurai, who is the main interactable NPC that kind of moves the story along for Heist, will be standing right where I am right now. You'll talk to her to get some of the information about starting the quest line, and then you can use the rogue marker right here in Act 6 and go straight to the Rogue Harbor. You'll then see her right here, Kurai the administrator. You'll talk to her. She'll tell you to talk to all of the NPCs and then start the first unique quest contract that you picked up. It will be a unique contract that's green like this. Then you'll talk to Adia right here, click Prepare Heist. You're going to select a rogue that can run this, and then you click Sign Contract right here and you kick it off. And we'll go into the details about actually running a contract a little bit later. But that's the early flow for getting started doing Heist. So after running enough contracts to unlock the requirements for running blueprints, all the details will be in a little bit. You can run blueprints, which give you the unique special rewards that are so valuable in Heist. And before you invest way too much time into learning Heist and getting into it, should you Heist? I tried to talk about this as unbiased as possible. My own personal opinion is Heist is a very cool thing that I like to do once in a while, like once a year. It is a very unique way to play the game that requires quite a lot of setup, but it does pay you off very well for that setup. So amazing return on investment. It doesn't require a very strong build, just a solid build that as long as you are able to do the encounters without dying, you're good enough. You actually don't even have to kill a single monster. So you can just go full tanky and just walk around without dying, do the encounter, just pick up the loot and get out. It's very relaxing. Some people say it's too relaxing and kind of boring. It is not like a high octane type of thing. If you just want to blast maps and kill tons of monsters, this is not really the thing for you. If you do infinite heisting, particularly on League Start, and you know what you're doing and you can leverage that currency, I have multiple friends that make 1 or 2 mirrors on the first weekend. There is very little else in the game that can make that much guaranteed currency without even getting to maps. Now, why wouldn't you want to run Heist? Basically, you walk up to a door, some other blocking encounter, you click on it, and you wait for one of your rogue mercenaries to clear the boundary. That could be opening a door, could be knocking some debris out of the way. General idea is you're trying to get to the end, grab the artifact, and get the loot along the way and get out. And there's a lot of these obstacles in the way that you have to use your mercenaries to clear. And especially early on, before you gear them up, it can be very, very slow, especially with the slower guys like Vendiri. It could take 10 to 15 seconds just to clear one obstacle. And if they get hit, it can slow them down and it can be very, very annoying. Later on, they can clear it all in just like a couple seconds. Early on, it can be very painful. And as I was just alluding to, it takes a lot of setup to get going. All of your rogues start off at level 1 with all of their skills, and you have to level them up to at least 3, 4, or 5, depending on the rogue, what their abilities are. And that can take a couple days of like concentrated contract running. You're going to be rolling good bases of gear. They actually have their own gear that makes them do stuff faster, get more XP, make them stronger, makes you stronger as well. They have auras as well. It's a lot of effort to get going, but once you have the engine rolling, then you can do it the rest of the league very comfortably. Very similar to Delve, it also doesn't easily self-sustain. When you run a contract, it can't drop an additional contract. So you always have to go into a map and get more smugglers' caches and open them, or you have to buy them from other players. For very dedicated heisters, they go to the Forbidden Trove, they go to the bulk buy section, and then they buy a ton of them at a time. I'm not going to talk about how to use TFT in this video. Definitely look up the Forbidden Trove and how all that works. You have to find a way to get the fuel to do the off-map mechanic. All right, and now we're going to do a quick tutorial and demo. Here's the meat of it. We're going to go through exactly what running a contract is, rolling it. Quick little overview of everything that is in here. It's not going to be a deep dive into all of the mechanics. We're going to try to keep this like 10 or 15 minutes, and then all of the extreme detail will be after this. But if you want one quick demonstration, this is the part of the video you want to watch. So like I said, it starts in Act 6. You open your first smuggler's cache, you get those rogue markers, you get your first contract, then you talk to Lady Kurai in the Lion Eyes Watch, you right-click on a rogue marker, you teleport to the rogue harbor, and then you start there. When you first get here, there's going to be a bunch of exclamation points above everyone's head, you know, from all of your MMOs that you've played. Click on the exclamation points. Basically, Kurai is going to say, hey, introduce yourself to everybody. And then you're going to go around to the rogues that are unlocked. I think Tibbs will be there initially, and Isla as well. Basically, just like Tibbs and Isla, you're going to walk around, talk to them, you know, listen to the lore if you want to, talk to Wakano, Faustus, and then Adia right here. Then you're going to have a unique contract that you run. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to run a regular contract right now, but this is the same mechanics. You're going to talk to Adia. You're going to click Prepare Heist. Then you're going to put the contract in this little slot right here. And then you're going to see the contract mission type. There are 9 mission types: lockpicking, demolition, trap disarmament, counter thaumaturgy, perception, deception, agility, engineering, and brute force. All right, I'm pretty sure the first contract that you get is a lockpicking contract. So you're just going to click on this right here, and then you have to assign the rogue to that mission. That's the one that's going to accompany you on the mission. Karst will be one of the unlocked rogues, and he's going to be the only person I believe that you can click on in the tutorial. There's going to be a travel fee, a hiring fee, and the rings cut. The ring is the mafia that you're kind of a part of. That's like the crime family that's doing all these missions. The travel fee is just kind of included. That's like, you know, paying for lodging and transport and all that. And then the hiring fee is actually how much this rogue costs. And later on, you can roll gear for them that actually reduces the amount that they take as a cut. So you can spend fewer rogue markers to go on these missions. You'll see that the contract has a location. This is the prohibited library. This basically says, you know, what is the type of mission that can happen here. The types of missions like lockpicking can only happen in certain locations. If we go to the wiki and we just type in blueprint or contract, we can see what the locations are and how it's split up. If we go to the prohibited library, we can see it has scientist-type monsters that do physical and chaos damage. And we can see that it does lockpicking, perception, counter-thaumaturgy, engineering, and deception mission. And also the type of mission that you do dictates the type of rewards that you're going to find. So if we search for lockpicking, we can see it gives us currency, map fragment, and jewelry rewards. And lockpicking is generally very quick. There's not as many doors to wait to open. There's nothing particularly scary about it. Unlike trap disarmament, which actually has traps that can hurt you as you walk over them. And because we're exiles, we really like currency. So lockpicking is regarded as one of the better contract types to run. We'll see that it says it requires lockpicking level 3. Also in the Rogue Harbor, I'm pressing V right now to open up the inventory for all of the rogues. We can see that Karst right here has lockpicking, perception, and agility as just potential skills. All of the rogues have different skills that they can do, so the different missions, you can only hire certain ones to go along. And as we can see, this mission requires lockpicking level 3. They also have a max level for all of their abilities too. Some of them can only get to level 2 or 3 for some of their abilities. You can augment that with gear. That does narrow the pool of which rogues you can bring on that mission. So Karst right here, I have leveled him up to 5 for lockpicking. He is one of the best rogues in general because of his perk, and he can get to level 5 lockpicking, which is very valuable. As you can see, he also has agility, but that only gets to level 2. So if I was running an agility contract that required level 3 agility, I couldn't use Karst. But I do know that Talina can get to level 5. And then as you see, I have it augmented with gear to level 6. Right here, I have rolled on one of the gear items. We'll talk about the gear rolling and all that a little bit later, but it has +1 to level of all jobs for Heist. So she actually has level 6 on this. We know that Karst is valid for running on this contract. He also has a perk, which we'll talk about the perks a little bit later. 40% less raising of alert level from opening a reward chest. That's partially why he is so valuable. On the contracts, as you can see, we can roll them. What changes by rolling them is you get item quantity and rarity. This is generally not valued because we don't run Heist for the drop loot from the regular monsters that you kill in there. The quantity and rarity does not affect the loot from the chest or the final loot at the end of a blueprint. So generally, that's not what you're looking for when you're rolling on these contracts. What you are looking for is the alert level reduction. There is something when we go in the contract, you'll see there's an alert bar at the bottom of the screen that raises up. And when that hits the max, you get a timer, like basically the alarm goes off. You're trying to sneak in and steal something. And when the alert level maxes out, then the alarm goes off, you get a countdown timer, and you only have a limited amount of time to finish the heist and get out of there. So the more alert level reduction that you can get, the more chests that you can open, the more you can do in there before the alarm goes off. Time before lockdown is okay. What that is it scales the timer. So if by default it's 20 seconds, this would be 24 seconds with the 23% more. Maximum live reinforcements is like kind of bad. That's just more monsters to kill. That could be valuable if you're trying to farm XP in there, but generally you just want to get the loot and get out, and you don't really care about that. There are mods that you can roll on the contract that absolutely you don't want to run. You can get one that says lockdown starts as soon as the alert level maxes out, which says you don't get a timer when the alert level maxes out, so you can accidentally break your run very easily. Generally, alert level reduction is all you care about. You don't want to die in here. As soon as you trigger the alarm, dying is really bad. You can't go back in and get your loot. So you usually try to roll this a little bit on the more casual side. Once your rogues are geared out, you can kind of open anything anyway, and so you can just run them white, and you don't have to worry about rolling anything at all. We're going to click on this lockpicking icon, and then we're going to select Karst from our first mission, click sign contract, and then a portal will open up. You're going to start in this holding area that you can kind of hang out. You're going to listen to their voice lines. They're going to talk a lot. The rogues and the characters in the heist missions are very talkative. So yeah, we're going to go inside the mission. You'll see that there is this alert level at the bottom. This is what we're basically monitoring to see when the mission is going to end and trigger that alarm. So there's a bunch of monsters around here that, you're going to fight. You don't want to die, so kill the monsters. Don't just stand on everything and die. So what I recommend doing is opening up the minimap right away and just kind of doing a perusal. The whole thing will be revealed. And you can kind of see there are these chests that have these specific icons for the reward types. And you can judge this however you want yourself personally. What's going to happen is every time you open up one of these chests, even these small ones along the way, the alert level will go up. So yeah, I'm right here at the ladder, and then you can plan your attack right here. And then this pylon right here, this is the artifact. You're going to click on that thing, and then the artifact will drop. As soon as you pick up that artifact, the alert level will max out no matter what. That the alarm will go off. All the doors will close behind you. The alarms are going off. There's going to be doors that are locked. You have to open the doors again using Karst, get back to the entrance, and escape with the artifact and all of the loot that you've gotten. Any item that you pick up inside of a contract or a blueprint will have a lock icon on it, and it will be contraband, and I'll show that in a second. So I clicked on the small chest right here, and if I hold Alt, you can see all of the items, like everything from even just like small random items, they have this lock icon on them that says that they are contraband. What contraband means is it's an item that you cannot interact with. I can't identify it. I can't do anything. So if you want to know if it's like a fractured item you want to keep, you have to bring it out and hold on to it. So you have to be conscious of your inventory management when you're in here. Until I escape with this item, it is unidentified and I can't do anything with it. And also when you die inside of a heist encounter, all of your contraband will drop on the ground. If the alarm hasn't gone off yet, you can go back in, pick up your loot, and continue the encounter. But if the alert has maxed out and the alarm has gone off, you cannot go back in and you lose all that loot. If you get anything good, you can lock an item in before you actually trigger the alarm. So say I really like the shield, I can just leave and then go to this kind of holding area, and you'll see that the lock actually went off on the item. I can identify it, and it's now a regular interactable item that I own. So I won't lose this item anymore because I locked it in. In fact, you can entirely leave the encounter, put the item in your stash, and go back in. As long as the alert hasn't gone off, you can just grab anything that you find interesting, bring it back out, lock it in, put it in your stash, and then go back in, as long as you haven't triggered the alarm yet. So these unique chests that we showed, they are locked behind closed doors. And this is the contentious thing about Heist. So you'll see that there is this begin lockpicking icon. I can press V to kick it off, or I can click this. Strongly recommend pressing V or whatever your interactable button is. But when I trigger this, Karst will begin the encounter, begin lockpicking. You'll see a progress bar above his head. If he takes a hit, the progress bar will go back down. It's just like World of Warcraft. So, you're trying to cast your spell. If you get hit, it'll knock it back down. So you have to protect him while he's trying to unlock the door. So if I just press V, he'll start the encounter. And that's how fast it is when they start getting a little bit better gear. It's not that long. It's not that bad. But early on, it can take 10 or 15 seconds before they have good gear. And then when you come in here, you'll see some chests. Depending on the encounter, like perception, they walk in, they have to like perceive the chest, it'll appear. And then you can just click on it. Trap disarmament, there's actually traps that you have to disarm. If you walk over them, you'll take damage, you can actually die. So be careful about that. I can press V again. As you can see, he took some damage right there, right? And it knocked it back. But yeah, monsters will spawn as soon as you start opening that chest. And then you'll get these items, and you can see there's potential for really, really good items. Like imagine getting items like this on League Start. On the first weekend, you could get like a corrupted blood jewel that had good mods on it. You could get a double corrupted belt that had, double aura effects, stuff like that. There's really good potential loot in Heist. All right, so let's open a currency encounter right here. Same thing, clear the mobs. Yep, as you can see, he takes damage, kind of delays it a little bit. Get a little bit of loot. Imagine getting this type of stuff, running these contracts the first weekend. On League Start, this is incredible loot. And like, this is the value. You can get this stuff early on when you're heisting. It's like, it is this powerful. Like, this is crazy good loot on the first weekend. All right, I'm going to see if I can open up every single chest and trigger the alert. I have pretty good gear on my Karst, and he's leveled up. So as you can see, I'm not generating that much alert level every time I open a chest. So later on, when they're geared up and you have them leveled up and everything, you can actually get away with clicking almost everything. You can kind of just ignore alert level. As you can see, there's like one little pixel right there, so I'm not able to trigger it. My Karst is too high level. Can't trigger it. That's too bad. I'll open up another contract right after this to show you guys. All right, so this is the final artifact room. You have to click on this twice. You have to like hit the glass and then crack it. You're going to pick this up. The alarm will immediately go off. All of the doors behind you will close. And then we have to open up the doors with lockpicking and escape. And there will be a bunch of reinforcements kind of stopping us from trying to escape. So I click this, you can see escape the facility. You can see the red alert alarms went off, a bunch of monsters spawned. We pick this puppy up, and then we just kind of escape. And you'll see there's these locked doors that we have to wait for to open. And you'll see it'll actually gather a lot of guys on the other side of the door. Strongly recommend not standing right in front of the door when it opens. Many of the monsters will do big AoE abilities that will shotgun you. Just stay away from the door and, don't be right in their face. And then, yeah, basically after that, like, you don't have to kill the monsters or anything. The recommended builds for running Heist are generally really fast zoomy builds that have phasing and everything. Very tanky builds that have no risk of dying. You don't want to lose the contraband loot, to a random one-shot or anything. And then, yeah, you just press V. Like, as you can see, I can press V, like, right here, right? I don't have to click on it. I just kill the monsters for a little bit. Karst opens it in about 2 or 3 seconds. And then you just kind of, like, shield charge out, and you're done. As you can see, the locks are gone from the loot that I picked up, so now I own it. It's locked in. And then when you complete the encounter, that's when your rogues will get XP for that type of encounter. So since I did a lockpicking encounter, it'll say, Karst got 1,000 XP for lockpicking. Since my Karst is already max lockpicking, he didn't get any XP for that, but that's how you level them up, is just by running contracts of their appropriate level. Since we have the artifact that we brought out of the contract, we now talk to Faustus, and then we get 1329 rogue markers. If you recall, it cost us about 400, I believe, to run the contract. And then before we put the contract in, we actually see at the very top, I missed this at the beginning, you'll see the objective says the Golden Ibis, value 1876. So you'll see how many that you get. So if I assign Tibbs right here, we'll see the total cost is 400. But if we successfully complete it, we'll get 1800 for a profit of 1400. And in fact, you can see at the top here, it says Heist target high value. So we can see that they have the target value that goes from low, moderate, high, precious, and then priceless. Let me show you guys a priceless one for a little contrast. Yeah, 3909. So if you really want to farm rogue markers, find those priceless contracts. You get a ton of rogue markers from it. All right, and then just a quick demonstration right now of how the alert level works. When it maxes out, a timer will start. After the timer starts, you are still able to open other chests as well as get the artifact at the end of the encounter. However, every time you click an additional chest, the time will go down by a few seconds. So if it starts at 20 seconds, it'll start ticking down and you'll lose a couple seconds every time you click on one of those chests. So what you can do is strategically start the alarm and then open chests as you make a mad dash towards the artifact. So it still gives you a little bit of a wiggle room for opening more chests, or if you're not paying attention and you trip the alarm, you can still make a mad dash for the artifact and pick it up. And I'll try to demonstrate this right now. The other thing that I like to do is if I'm going to do something like this, I will open up the final vault door. Then I will go back, open up some chests that will give me that time, and I don't have to wait for the door to open as I get to the artifact. So I'm going to open this right now. Then I'm going to backtrack a little bit, open up some chests that's going to pop the alarm, and then I'll try to open them up as I make it to the very end. And then when that timer does hit 0, you can no longer pick up the artifact. So you have to make sure you pick it up before it hits 0. You are on a timer right there. And then it's the full lockdown. You can't open up any additional chests or anything like that. So yeah, if I click on this, you'll see that the timer starts right here. I have 20 seconds. And then when I click on a chest, you'll see that it just went down by 3 seconds, -3 right there. And I have about 10 seconds. And I'll demonstrate this by not opening the artifact. I still have the ability to interact with it and pick it up. But if we wait for the 3 seconds and it finishes, you'll see the lockdown just totally happened. The big metal walls came up on the artifact and I can no longer click on it. It's no longer interactable. So I have effectively failed the mission. However, I can still pick up the loot that has spawned. So I could have opened up some chests, not picked it up, and then picked it up on the way out. When I leave, I won't get any XP for my rogue, and I won't get the artifact with the rogue markers. I can't sell that to Faustus, but everything else with the loot that I did pick up, I still have and I will keep. The required job level, the higher the level, the more chests that you can get in the side areas. As you saw in the one that I just ran, it was job level 3. Each of those side areas that I opened up only had 1 chest, but the higher job level ones have a higher chance of having 2 chests. So once you have high level rogues, you always want to be running those job level 5 contracts for the best return on your investment. And then the other thing that happens when you run a contract is they give blueprint reveals. By default, Wakano will get a regular blueprint contract if you're running it with any rogue. But if you run it with Niles or Gianna, they get special reveals that cost fewer rogue markers to reveal your blueprints. That's why Gianna particularly is valued so much. And we'll go over revealing and what that means with blueprints when we get to that. And then there are these green contracts that progress the story of Heist. To get these unique contracts for the boss fights and the uniques that they drop, you do have to progress the story and do these unique contracts. Now, the way that you can think about it is there's the mainline unique contracts that progress the story with the ring here that you run with Lady Kurai that culminates in a very sad ending and then a revenge story. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it yet, but you have to do the main line of those quest contracts to unlock the unique contract that you want to do. The twins particularly, which gives you the leadership's price reward if you kill them. Now, each of the rogues themselves, like Isla and Karst right here, they have a handful of their own quest contracts that also can culminate in some of their own unique contracts. Now, the thing to note is you only start with Karst, Tibbs, and Isla unlocked. You actually have to run contracts with each of them to unlock more of those rogues, in this order specifically. Tibbs will unlock Talina, then you run a contract with Talina, it unlocks Nanette. And then Karst has the whole line. Karst, Hux, Niles, Vendiri, gets down to Gianna. And then Isla's by herself. Apparently she has no friends. So a thing that you can do is actually not run any contracts with any of these guys, not unlock anyone in addition. So the only unique contracts that can drop are the ones for the rogues you already have and the mainline quest. So if you want to rush those unique contracts, get those unique boss fights, you can just purposely not unlock more rogues. And then once those unique contracts are unlocked, then you can unlock the other rogues and then you'll get the other quest contracts for them. This contract, Grocery List with Vendiri, since it's a demolition contract, it has delirium rewards that drop cluster jewels. And early on League Start, cluster jewels are obviously particularly valuable. And what you can do is run the contract, but instead of picking up the artifact at the end, just bug out. So just go in there, grab all the cluster jewels, open up the reward chest, and just leave. Don't grab the artifact at the end that completes the mission. Then you'll continually pick up grocery list from every smuggler's cache that you get. And then you can just do it over and over again to farm cluster jewels. Phasing is incredibly important since there's a bunch of monsters. You generally just want to run out of the contract. Highly recommend using a quartz flask, getting phasing on a raider, or doing something like this, which I have phasing on kill on an abyss jewel. Some of the quest contracts allow you to just open up every single chest. It won't have an alert level that goes up. So just pay attention to that. Open up 1 or 2 chests, see if there's an alert level. Those ones are fun because you can just go in there and open up absolutely everything. And then regarding the unique contracts, there are 5 of them: Breaking the Unbreakable, Death to Darna, Heart of Glory, the Slaver King, and the Twins. These are all unique boss fights. Leadership's Price, if it's rolled well, it has a random roll that's corrupted, so you can't roll over it. So if you hit something good on a Leadership's Price, that will give you, Sap, Scorch, and Brittle, gives you Secrets of Suffering. That can be valuable. These other uniques are not really meta right now at time of recording. Fledgling was used kind of a little bit a couple leagues ago. The other ones are not particularly valuable right now. They are just worth running if you just want some free loot, though. So Karst has lockpicking, perception, and agility. The most important thing is he is the guy that gets to level 5 with lockpicking. With each of these job types, there is only one rogue that can get to level 5 with them. But we can cheat a little bit by getting +1 on their gear here, which will allow us to gear fewer people that maybe have perks that we care about more for running our blueprints. As you can see, each one of them has a perk. Their character level, as they level up, their perk does become stronger. So we can see Karst here has 40% less raising of alert level from opening the chests, so we can open up 40% more chests if we're using Karst, and that's why he's so valuable. So there's a weapon slot that generally gives auras, gives them more damage. You don't really care about the damage that they do, but it can give you damage and auras. So this is valuable for augmenting your own character. Strongly recommend things like Grace and Haste to take fewer hits and to go faster. There's the amulet slot that gives you a chance to duplicate items that drop, gives you more quantity, also increases job speed. The main thing we're looking for here is job speed on most of the slots because, like I said, starts off very slow. You want to roll the gear so it has lots of job speed so it goes really, really quickly. So as you can see, heist chests have a chance to duplicate contained essences. So that's what's generally rolled on the amulet slot. Then there's the cloak slot. Usually here we're going for reduced raising of alert level, lets us open up more chests, and as always, we can go for more job speed, stuff like that. This is actually a very poorly rolled cloak. Let me see if I can upgrade that really quickly. All right, perfect. 1 chaos. Increased job speed, reduced travel fee, right? Cost fewer rogue markers to run. You don't really care about that too much. Reduce raising of alert level from opening chest, very, very valuable. And increased movement speed is always really good, both for us and for the rogue. And then the gear slot right here, this is where we can get plus level of jobs for our heists. This, like I said, can allow someone that can only get to level 4 to job level 5. So that way we can use someone that maybe only has job level 4 in something for job level 5. In like a blueprint or a contract. Particularly, let's say I want to run an agility level 3 with Karst because I want to open up more chests. If I had +1 job level right here, I could do that. As you can see, this gear slot is very specialized, and generally it only applies to a single rogue. So you have to find their specific equipment just for them. And also the weight on this plus job level for all heists is kind of low. It's kind of hard to roll. So just be aware of that. And just so you're aware, you can go to Craft of Exile, click on Heist right here, the brooch, aka the amulet, the cloak, gear, which is that middle slot that's very specialized, and then tools, which is the weapon slot. Now, the value of their perk is based on their character level, which is the highest job level that they have. So there is value in going above level 5. Karst, like I said, has lockpicking, perception, and agility. He is the one who can get to level 5 lockpicking. And then his perk is 40% less raising of alert level, which is very, very good. That's one of the best ones. Niles can unlock 1 magical chest after lockdown. So after everything's locked down, he can still open up a chest. He also gets a special blueprint reveal, which costs fewer rogue markers. He's also the rogue that gets to level 5 counter thaumaturgy, and then he can also do some deception, but not level 5. Huck, like I said before, is a jack of all trades. He can get to level 3 with lockpicking, brute force, demolition, and engineering, but we can level those all up to 4 if we get him the right gear slot. He gives you a generic buff for damage and speed, but he also gives you 20% increased XP gain, so he can be really nice for getting some more XP and leveling up quicker as well. And then spoilers before we talk about the Atlas passives is you can also grab the Dutiful Soldier here. When you open your first Smuggler's Cache, he will accompany you for the rest of the map, much like Einhard does, and his aura will apply to you when you're mapping. That can be really nice. Tibbs does brute force and demolition. He's the rogue that gets to level 5 with brute force, and then his unique perk is he can open a mechanical chest after lockdown per wing. I think that goes to 2 when he gets to level 5. So even after the lockdown, he can smash open 2 more chests. So if you have some chests that you can't get because of the alert level, you can still get those after the lockdown. Nanette can scout nearby enemy patrols and elite patrols during Heist. That effectively doesn't matter anymore, so we're not going to talk about that. Leftover mechanic from the original Heist. Also, 14% less raising of alert level. She's like a baby Karst a little bit. Vendiri is very, very valuable because he has Heist chests have a 10% chance to duplicate their contents. So if you open up a currency chest that gets a divine in it, obviously he is very valuable and you want to bring him along with every single blueprint that you can. That's why Vendiri specifically, you level him up as much as possible and you want to roll the best gear that you can on him to give him higher job levels so you can bring him on more contracts. And he is the rogue that can get to level 5 with demolition. The other thing about him, he has 22% more raising of alert level. So when Vendiri is with you, you have to be very conscientious of your alert level. It may go up more quickly than you expect. You'll want to bring Vendiri along with Karst so that Karst can kind of counteract the downside of Vendiri. Talina has 30% chance to find additional heist targets from secret reward rooms. So when you go to the side areas that have those special chests, she has a 30% chance to get an additional artifact that you can sell for more rogue markers. She can be very helpful for sustaining and getting yourself a lot more rogue markers when you're running those blueprints. Gianna has 10% reduced blueprint revealing cost, and she gets her own specialized reveal. And when we talk about blueprints in a minute, we'll talk about what that means. And then Isla has increased time before lockdown. She is generally kind of like the black sheep. However, she is the rogue that can get to level 5 with engineering. Gianna gets to level 5 deception, and Talina is level 5 agility. I think I missed those. In the home stretch right now, just a couple more things to talk about. The cool thing is blueprints, which are kind of like the end game encounter for Heist, are kind of just bigger contract. Most of what we've already talked about in terms of the detail that goes into contracts, the required levels for them with the different jobs, the different rogues, all of that all applies to a blueprint. Same thing with rolling blueprints for the reduced alert level reduction. All of that stuff is exactly the same. So what a blueprint is effectively a mega contract. It is 3 or 4 contracts put together into one big special contract where you bring multiple rogues with you. There are multiple different job types in a single wing of a blueprint. And the very special thing about them is at the very end, instead of picking up an artifact that just gives you rogue markers, you get a very special reward that is unique heist-specific loot. This includes unusual gems, as well as regrading lenses, which allow you to change the type of a gem, like superior into anomalous or phantasm. Currency and trinket rewards. At the very end, you'll see a bunch of different currency types or trinkets, which we'll show in a second. Replicas and experimented types. Replicas are alternate versions of existing uniques that are in the game. I'm sure you've already seen some of them. Things like Replica Elberon's Warpath, Replica Quillrain, Replica Bloodplay, all of those guys. Experimented types as well, like what we showed before, the alternating scepter, things like that. And then the last type is enchanted armaments, which give you weapons and armor that have special heist-specific enchants on them, as well as a low chance to get heist-specific unique like Expedition's End. Enchanted armaments specifically, there are some enchants that say this item has 6 links, can be really, really good, particularly in solo self-found for farming a 6 link really early on. Similar to regrading lenses in enchanted armaments, you can get tailoring and tempering orbs that can enchant any item that you have. So this is a blueprint. As you can see, it has a couple extra lines that a contract doesn't have. The heist target gives you the type that it is. We're going to be running a trinket or currency blueprint right here. As you can see, I don't have a trinket slot on my character yet, so I still need to do that. You can see there are wings revealed, escape routes revealed, and reward rooms revealed, and we're going to show reveals in a second. You can also see that it has multiple jobs, so we need at least a rogue that has level 3 brute force, level 5 agility, and level 4 engineering. The blueprints and contracts will tell you ahead of time if you have those requirements. It will be red if I don't have those. An example of that here is I don't have level 2 deception. I've done very little heist so far this league. It is red, so that means I can't do it. You can actually see in your inventory that it's already red, so you know whether you can do it before you even click on it. And the nice thing is, unlike contracts, you can hold Alt over a blueprint, and it'll show you all of the potential reward rooms here. Since it is a pretty big investment to run a blueprint, it is important to know whether it's even worth running. So if you're really looking for div cards or currency or whatever rooms you're specifically looking for, you can hold Alt ahead of time and try to use that to judge whether it's worth even investing into. A contrast example right here is this one has 8 currency rewards as well as 4 div card reward. You can see that the number has 0 out of 8. So I actually have to pay to make sure that those rooms are open and available to use. So to do a reveal, we actually have to go down here to Wakano the Barber, talk to him, reveal blueprints right here. put your blueprint in there, and you get this special interface that shows what is revealed and what isn't. So like I said, a blueprint is basically a super contract. Since there are 4 wings and there's only 1 revealed, this is effectively 4 contracts put into 1. However, since these ones are blinking red, this means we don't have access to them yet. So if we ran this blueprint as it is right now, we would only have access to this single wing. We'd only have these 3 reward rooms as well. So at the very least, before you run a blueprint, you almost always want to reveal all of the wings. Now you can see on the left side here, I have 45 reveals queued up from Wakano. That is from just running contracts. You'll get a reveal each time you successfully run a contract. However, you can see these arrows on the side. You can also do it with Gianna or with Niles. If you successfully completed a contract with one of them, you get a special reveal that has an additional discount. If I mouse over one of the red blinking wings, we'll see what we can get when we reveal it. So the eyeball means it costs a reveal. The coins are the number of rogue markers that it's going to cost to reveal. As you can see, the prices are pretty high, 3,000 rogue markers for an entire wing. And then we know what type of rewards we can potentially get when we reveal this wing. You also see there are escape routes. These are handy rooms that allow you to get out much quicker than running all the way back to the beginning. This can be handy for saving a lot of time. So I have nothing with Gianna here, but I do have 4 Niles reveals that give me a 10% discount. So you can see it costs 3,800 with Wakano, but if I go to Niles, it costs 3,400. And if I was able to do it with Gianna, it would only cost 3,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Niles to reveal all of these wings, and then I'm just going to use Wakano to conserve my more expensive ones just to reveal some of the rooms that we have. So all you have to do is click on each wing, and it's revealed. And you'll see a nice little handy interface that shows your new wings. Then we're going to go over to Wakano, which has the more expensive ones. And then I can click on each one of these rooms if I care about the reward and open them up so I can get more rewards per wing. Now, I do value currency rewards, so I'm going to open those up. But the rest of them, particularly right now, end of the league, I don't really care about those, so I'm just going to leave it as is. However, what happened here, much to my chagrin right now, is that the required level for some of these wings may be higher than what you previously had. So while the single wing that I had revealed had lower job requirements, these other ones have higher job requirements. So as soon as I revealed them, the job requirement level went up for the blueprint, and now I'm no longer able to run it. So we're going to have to shelf that for later. I'm just going to reveal one of these wings here, hope the job level requirement doesn't go up. All right, we're still good. We're going to be able to run this one. So we're going to run this blueprint that has 2 wings on it. And I'm going to leave the rooms as is. I'm going to run it with one of the wings not revealed yet. So we're not done yet. We have to go and confirm which rogues we're going to use and take on our mission with us. This inventory slot is actually shared with Kurai's inventory slot. So we're going to keep it right here, and we're going to run down and see what's going on. So what you have to do now is go down here, click on the planning room, and then go to the planning table right here. And then we'll get an interface that is very similar to the contract interface for picking the rogue that you bring with you, but it's a little bit more expansive because there are multiple wings. So we just want to click on each one of these and pick who we want to bring with. You can bring multiple of the same rogue for different job types, but their bonuses won't stack, so you typically want to mix and match it as much as possible. So we're going to bring Vendiri here for more chance to duplicate the rewards, Karst to reduce the alert level as much as possible, and then Huck to buff our character and make running the contract a little bit easier. And then as you can see, they're grayed out when their job level requirement isn't high enough, so I don't have many options here. And then as you can hear, they are very, very talkative. They have been talking for a very long time. So then what we want to do is we click confirm plans, and then we can actually still leave it here. Go back out to the rogue marker. This is all the same inventory slot. Talk to Adia, click on prepare grand heist instead of prepare regular heist, and it's still right there and ready to go. But as we can see, I didn't roll it yet, and I don't like what's on there. This has the -5 player cold res per 25 alert level, and since my cold res is 85 right now, that would get a little bit uncomfortable once I trip the alarm. So I'm going to roll this up really quickly to something a little bit more comfortable, and this looks totally fine. All right, prepare grand heist, put it in, and click begin. And then remember, each rogue can have a tool slot that has an aura for you. So by bringing 3 different ones along with you on each wing, you can have 3 additional auras on your character for free if you want to. And then as you'll see, this interface is just like the contract, but there are multiple exits right here, and we can run each wing individually. Much like the contract, if we get any contraband loot that we really like, we can bring it back out here. We can exit, put it in our stash, and come back in. As long as there is a remaining wing that is available that hasn't had the alarm tripped yet, we can always go back in.
You're gonna regret this.
All right, and as you can see, we go in one of the wings. It looks just like a regular contract, but we have 3 different rogues with us. And I am just going to run straight to the rewards here. All right, so the reward room in a grand heist in a blueprint looks very, very different. There are a bunch of different rewards here, but as soon as you pick one of them, All of the other ones will go on lockdown, and you can't bring all of the loot with you. So be very careful about what you choose. You want to walk around and get a lay of the land and see what there is, and then pick one and run out with your loot. Also, the first time that you run a trinket blueprint, you can click the catch right here, which will give you a trinket slot, which is an additional equipment slot that helps passively boost your loot when you're running contracts. So if we click this right here, you'll see that this will appear. So you can see there are stacks of random currency. We get gem cutters, we get stacked decks. But the thing that I care the most about right now, because I have no trinkets on my character, is grabbing one of these trinkets. As you can see, they are corrupted items. That means they can no longer be modified. So they just are what they are. Although with tainted chaos orbs, you can try to go for an alternate roll on them, but I don't recommend that. The most valuable thing that people usually go for, as you can see right here, 6% chance in Heist, only when you're running contracts and blueprints, for orbs of transmutation to drop as orbs of alchemy. Now, the most valuable thing here would be chaos as divines or similar. Those are obviously the most valuable. So those are usually the trinkets that people go for. This one seems pretty decent. 4% increased quantity of items, as well as a 14% chance for a scour to drop as a regret. As someone who respects their build a lot, I would love some more regrets. So as you can see, we click on this, it drops on the ground. The alert immediately goes off. And then just like any other contract, we have to escape. For demonstration purposes, I will let my character die here, and you can see what happens with the contraband loot that dropped on the ground. I'm going to turn off my defensive auras here, let them kill me. As you can see, all of the loot that was contraband that was in my inventory is now on the ground, and since the alarm has been tripped, I can no longer go back in and pick it up. So this loot is lost forever. When we resurrect, we come back into the Rogue Harbor. Since there is still a remaining wing, we can still go back into the blueprint. Only that one wing got bricked, so we can go back in and still run the one that is remaining. But if you look at the door where we just were, you can see that it is all on fire, and we can't go back in and get our loot. All right, so in the second wing here, I'm just going to make a beeline straight for the reward room again. All right, let's take a look at the rewards here. Also, I do recommend clearing all of the random monsters in the reward area before you try to evaluate the loot. 4% chance for transmute to drop as a chaos orb. That seems pretty decent to me. All right, let's do it. All right, and we're out. And now we have successfully obtained a Thief's Trinket that we can equip on our character. Since that was the final wing, we are now done with the blueprint. You can see that they got some XP for running that mission, and we are all done with our blueprint. Thief's Trinket, while it is a corrupted item, it does count as an inventory slot, and we can use incubators on it. So if you really want to min-max your character, you do always want to have a trinket. All right, and then last up, in the most recent addition to Heist in the game is the Atlas passive. These come in 4 categories. As we mentioned earlier, you can make Huck come along with you, give you his AoE bonuses. Can be really nice for buffing your character. You can do this in addition to Einhar, have a couple buddies buffing you. There's a chance for fully revealed blueprints. As we just saw, revealing blueprints can be pretty expensive, and so having them already drop fully revealed can be really nice. Influencing the type of contract that drops. So for example, the most valuable one is Deception, because as we saw, Gianna is the best for getting reveals, and Deception is very easy to run. Also gives stacked decks, which are worth a lot. So you can put your points into influencing that type of contract to more likely get the type that you want. And then last up is getting high value targets. High value targets like Precious and Priceless can give you many more rogue markers. So if we just open up our Atlas skills right here, type Heist into the search box, we can take a look at those. Much like all of the other content that's on the Atlas passives, there is one that just gives you more chance for Smuggler's Caches to show up. Down here is Dutiful Soldier, which is what gives you Huck. On the middle left side right here is the ones that influence the type of contract that will drop. In the upper section of the Atlas, we have Friends in High Places, which gives you more chance to get high value and precious targets. And then in the very top middle right here, I highly recommend these ones if you're going to be running Heist and you want to get Heist through your maps instead of buying them off of TFT or from somewhere else. These ones are very critical for sustaining your blueprints. The most fun line right here is your maps that contain caches have a 5% chance to contain 6 additional ones for 7 Smuggler's Caches in a single map. And then Casing the Joint right here has the 10% chance for a blueprint to be fully revealed. So these nodes right here are very valuable for running Heist when you're in your maps. And then last up with how it interacts with mapping is we do have 2 Sextans. One of them is contracts will have an implicit modifier. These modifiers could be things like reduced alert levels, stuff like that. And then the other one, which is great, is area contains a Smuggler's Cache. And I actually have one right here. So you can usually buy these relatively cheap. You just toss it on your map and then you always have Smuggler's Cache. Recommended builds: Usually something really fast, something that is tanky and won't die. The easiest thing to get off the ground, the most traditional recommended build for doing Heist. Like I said, we don't really need to kill that many monsters. As long as you don't die and you can protect your rogues and allow them to open up the doors, you're good to go. So you don't need high DPS. Being alive, not dying, and running really quickly is the most effective thing. So most recommended stuff that's most comfortable, low investment, is things like Toxic Rain Raider / Pathfinder, Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. You could do anything on a Trickster, run really quickly, be very tanky, and that's really the general approach that you want to have. Since Champion, at least at time of recording, is the most broken ascendancy in the game, anything with him, of course, is really good. You proc Adrenaline, run really fast, don't die. You can just do anything with him as well. You know, TR on a Champion is probably just the best go-to. There is a Lightning Warp trick. You can look it up if you want to, by basically stacking increased duration on your Lightning Warp. So you can keep your character like at the very beginning of the contract, run to the end, grab the item, and then just wait until the Lightning Warp cooldown happens, and then your character will teleport all the way back to the beginning, and you can get out. You can look that up on YouTube. It's pretty neat. If you're a full degen hardcore heister, I do recommend probably just putting that together. It'll save you a lot of time. Whew, all right. And then very, very last up, I'm going to try to go over this very quickly, is infinite heisting. This presentation will be linked in the description below. As you can see at the very bottom, there's a link to the guide from Spicy Sushi. I am not going to go to extreme detail here. He went into a lot more in his guide. Watch that. It's a 20-minute video dedicated to just this, but the details are in this slide right here, and I'll go over it very quickly. The idea with Infinite Heist is you can do this before you even kill Katava. One thing that I did forget to mention is that you can purchase contracts up to level 67 from Wakano. Every time you level up your character up until 67, he will refresh his inventory and you can buy more contracts. The general theory here is as soon as you start getting contracts around Act 6, basically just run Heist, level up through Heist up until about 67, and then de-level your character, and then just keep running contracts, getting much better loot than if you were running through the acts. And he even refreshes his inventory when you de-level. Usually you want to be starting at about eye level 58 contracts. That's when the random item chest starts showing up that can give you any sort of loot from it. Before that, you can only get specific loot that's not as good. So as soon as you hit like 58, go to the Rogue Harbor, buy everything you can from Wakano, and then you can just start running the contracts right there. Every single time that you level up after that, go back to Wakano, buy the more inventory, go back in, and keep going. If you want to, you can go all the way to Act 10, do Merc Lab, and then de-level your character and start buying those contracts then as well. If you didn't know, you can de-level your character by selling a Scour and a Wisdom Scroll to a merchant. You're going to just run contracts, level up your character to 67, de-level, buy from Wakano, de-level, buy from Wakano, de-level usually to about 62 or so, and then go back up to 67. And then just keep doing that, picking up all the loot, leveraging that very high amount of loot for early league, and using that to get ahead of the market. Now, I don't really recommend doing this if you don't have a good grasp on running the Chaos recipe. Definitely look up the Chaos recipe enhancer for being able to min-max that. And really the most important thing here is like as soon as you get 10, 20, 30 Chaos, you know how to leverage that. You know how to take that early currency, flip it into Exalts, flip it into Divines, and then leverage those Divines for buying items that might be underpriced that then will appreciate much more quickly. For example, buying very cheap div cards that you can turn in for early 6 links, sell those for 20, 30 Chaos, that then you can buy some of the early uniques that are going to appreciate very quickly. So it's really about being pretty smart about the market and knowing how to leverage it. This is a more advanced strategy. As you can see, there's a lot of like nuance to running it properly, but this is a strategy that some very successful, financially savvy players like to do. This slide is just to show you that there's a lot that goes into it. I do recommend just watching Spicy Sushi's guide. It's 20 minutes of extreme detail, really going into it. I don't want to bloat this video anymore, but if you're interested in Infinite Heist, what you learned in this video will definitely be very important for leveraging this strategy. All right, well, that was about 2 hours of raw footage. Thank you everybody for sticking along with this. This video and this guide has been a long time coming. As always, gigantic thank you to all the patrons. You guys make this possible. You know, these long form guides are an incredible amount of work. And I just really, really appreciate all the support for, you know, doing stuff like this, particularly since the YouTube algorithm doesn't particularly love videos like this. Like I said, in the description below is this presentation, and I would very much welcome in the comments below anything that I might have missed. There is so much detail. This is such a complex mechanic that I'm sure there's plenty that I did miss, and I'll try to keep the presentation that's shared with all of you guys up to date with additional detail in there as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that this allows you to enjoy this mechanic or know how it works, so maybe you can sell things to people that do run Heist. As always in Path of Exile, more knowledge is always better, even if you're not even doing that mechanic. Thanks for watching. There's plenty more like this coming, and I'll see y'all soon. Goodbye.